Hey guys, I'm the X-Man, EXMAN. No doubt if you're here, you probably are experiencing what you're seeing on the screen. And if you've done any diagnostics like I have, you probably come up with the codes that you see there on the left. First things first, don't be too alarmed. If all these showed up at once, then I may have some good news for you in another video. That other video is titled 99 2000 Ford Excursion and Super Duty Simple Fix for Blinking Overdrive Light and Transmission Malfunctions. Look for that in my channel, and you may get some good news. It was actually bad for me when I first found it out, because it was after I already spent the money and went through the process of putting this transmission solenoid block in already. If you've already looked at that video and found out that you actually need one, or you just know that you need a transmission solenoid block, then this is the video for you in terms of how to actually replace that. But I would strongly suggest that you take a look at that first video before you start this process. If you're here now and you've done all that, then get ready, because this is going to be a little bit more detailed than the ones that I've seen. I'm anticipating that most people here have got a 1999 to 2000 Excursion, or sorry, yeah, 1999 to 2000 Excursion, or a Super Duty, F250, F350. Most of those are the same. All you mechanics out there, if I'm wrong, just correct me, put it in the comment section. But I think this applies to most of those vehicles within that same year. So get ready. This video is going to be in multiple parts. I'm going to use a video from a gentleman who has a channel. I'll put his name in the detailed section in his channel so that you know what it is. But the goal would be to show you what he did, because he did more detailed install, and he left out some things as he was installing the solenoid block into the transmission. So I'll fill in the gaps there while he's doing his install, and then I've got a video that will either be sprinkled throughout or at the end that will fill in the gaps for the things that you need to know, the size tools you need, and some of the processes you need to go through in order to get it to work. Namely, to get yourself ready, you should have a 10 millimeter socket. You need a half inch size socket for the oil drain. The 10 millimeter will work on the bolts for the transmission oil pan, and also one bolt on the solenoid itself. And then you'll need a 5/32 I forget the name of those bolts, or sorry, those sockets, but they're sort of star for a screw, and it'll go into that screw. So I think it's the 5/32 is what I use to get it off and to tighten it. You'll see in the video that the other gentleman did that he's using a torque wrench to actually put them back on. I don't know the pounds on that, what he used, so you'll have to look it up. But get ready, and we'll get started now. Hey, first things first, got to give credit where credit is due. This video that you're about to see, or at least snippets of it, is from a gentleman by the name of Mark Celeste. He was kind enough to post something about 3 years ago for his truck, but the same thing applies, because I've actually tested on my Excursion in terms of the process he went through. Again, he did a great job. I'm just filling in the gaps for the things that he did. This will help folks who are just brand new at this to get started and get the transmission solenoid out and the new one in. You'll see in the video that he had some problems getting his out, and that's where I fill in the gaps with some of my video content. So you'll see that sprinkled throughout and spliced throughout, but I want to give credit where it's due. Please, if you're watching this, go over and give him a thumbs up, because he did some good hard work in terms of at least showing me the process in a more detailed way of how to get the thing out of my truck. So all credit to Mark here, and I hope you don't mind me using your video to sort of enhance and show people who are scratching their heads on how to get this done right and quickly by filling in the gaps here. This video sort of starts in with the transmission fluid already being drained. I'm assuming you guys know how to do that, but I do put in there which sockets you need to actually get it drained. But just for your information, I think it drains about 6.5 quarts if you just drain what's in the pan and don't do a complete flush. So if your goal here is just to change out the solenoid block and just drain the fluid that's in the pan, then you probably need to have about 6.5 quarts ready once you're done to get back in there. So the video is going to start kind of abruptly, and you won't see a sequence where he actually drains the transmission. He's just going to start unscrewing the pan to get it off. But again, as soon as you warmed up the truck, you did everything you're supposed to do in terms of draining it. And then now we're at the point when the video starts where he's actually removing the pan itself. Okay, so here we are. He's removing the last bit of bolts from the transmission oil pan. He's using, as I mentioned before, the 10 millimeter socket to loosen all of those bolts. There are a lot of them, so rest your arms. And the oil drain plug or bolt is 1/2 inch socket. Okay, so what you're looking at immediately over to the right is the transmission filter. He's going to remove that in a minute. He's tapping on the actual transmission solenoid pack. Alright, so when he removes this transmission filter, just like he's doing there, you want to make sure you've got your drain thing there because it will dump on you. And then you want to turn it over and dump all the rest of it out of the filter. Also, you want to make sure that little hole it just came out of, that the little grommet that's on there comes out. Sometimes it'll come out with the filter, sometimes it won't. Now he just connected the socket with the star pattern connection to connect to those star pattern screws that are in there. So he's now loosening it up, and that's the 5/32 star pattern tool that he's using that's in the socket. I'll show you that later in my video and what it looks like. Alright, so there are a lot of screws here that he's going to open up. We'll take a look at him, loosening all of them. You want to pay attention to when he gets to the point where he loosens up the 10 millimeter. And also he's going to get to a point where it's going to get pretty messy. Now we're going to fast forward just a little bit here in a sec to get past all the screw turning here, but I want him to get to a point where the mess comes so you can prepare yourself. It'll come up here shortly. We're going to fast forward here in a sec. Okay, we've arrived at the fun part where he's getting to a point where he's loosening the screws, and you would think that the transmission's been drained of all the fluid that might be problematic, but nope, here it comes. So if you're doing this, prepare yourself and have your drip pan and your body position, because I got almost a face full of stuff even though I knew it was going to happen. even with all that. All right, so he's getting to the point now where my video is going to fill in the gaps. He doesn't know how to take it out, and you know, he struggled with it. He eventually got it out, but the way he got it out, he had to go through a lot of gyrations to eventually get it out. And I've got an easier way to get it out that's a little bit more smooth. So you'll see him struggle trying to pull. You know, all the screws are out. There's none in there. So if you do this, you won't be crazy trying to figure it out. What you'll find here in a sec is what he's going to find out in terms of what's missing. So we'll fast forward and get to that. Alright, so we're fast forward, and the video itself is actually fast forward. What you see there is his hand going up to the top. I'm assuming his left hand going up to the top, where he's figured out that there's a plug in the top of the connector, and he initially unplugged it correctly from the top of the transmission there, but when he went to take it out, instead of doing what I'm going to show you how to do, he just kind of manhandled it and used a prying tool to pry it out and just actually pull all the electronics out of the old piece. So it's probably going to get a not so good core charge, because that thing is useless now in terms of the old piece. But essentially what he did again is he raised up over top of the transmission and disconnected a little connector on the top. It's kind of hard to get to. You'll see in my video. And once you pull that, you should be able to kind of knock it back out of there from that side and have it come out. But what he did instead is just pry it out, and that probably isn't the best way. So I'm going to let you see here where he finally figures it out and gets it out of there. But once he does that, then we'll switch over to my video, and it'll take you from the point that he's at where it's completely out and kind of steps you through how he could have gotten it out. But yeah, I mean, if I were in his shoes, just learning this, I'd probably done all the same things. He finally gets a, tool that's, right for the cause, right? There he is. He's like, yep, finally figured it out. All right, so we'll stop here, and I'm going to splice my video in and show you the way I did it. Okay, so if there's anybody that's trying to change your transmission solenoid, a couple of tricks here. So let me first turn on the light. I didn't hit it right. All right. So a couple of tricks here. The thing I ran into with this is there is a connection to the solenoid. This is it here. This connection. I've already pulled the old one. You're probably going to be mad, but sorry, I started where I started. But I thought this would be useful for people. So in order to get this little connection out, this here, let me see. All right, starting over again. So I'm underneath the transmission, or the car, excuse me. And there's a connection right here. It's here. This is a 2000 Excursion. I actually need to clean this. All right, 2000 XLT Excursion. This is what that thing looks like. And you gotta pinch this thing up top to get it off, right? That faces toward the passenger side of the car, going that way, right? So this is the transmission. That's the hole that the solenoid goes into, solenoid pack. And back behind, toward the back of the car, you got to reach up in here and disconnect that. Now, what I generally do is, if you're facing the back of the car, right, I'm going to slide back, and I got my feet hanging out on the passenger side of the car.
What I do is I take my right arm and swing it over in the top of this little hole. Now I'm about 6'2", 6'3", pretty big guy, so my hands are big. But that hole, if you're not as big as me, is big enough to get your whole hand into. Might be a little snug, but you can get in there. I'm sorry, the camera's moving around on me. All right, so essentially what I'm gonna do is take my right arm, swing it up in here, right? And there's enough room where I'm right on the top of the hole, right? And what you gotta do is swing it in such a way where you can get your index finger on top of the switch here. I mean, this plug. It's gonna be, you're gonna have to wrestle with it a little bit, but that's how you do it. Once you get that off, or get that up, you're gonna have to wrestle it up, right? I'm sorry, your thumb, not your index finger. So your thumb is gonna be right there. All right, and that's facing toward the passenger side. You'll feel it, but it's at the top. And once you feel it, pull up. And I'm not saying it's gonna be easy, but it was easier than what I was trying to do, which is to come on the other side, kind of on the other side, facing the back of the car. That was just horrible trying to get up in there. So if you do that, then it's a little easier. Then what I'll do is pull it out of the way. I'm gonna pause the video and go get the hammer. And I'll show you how to get in there. You're not gonna hammer it hard, but it'll give you enough leverage to hit or knock the solenoid out, because it's not going to come easy. So if you're wrestling with it and trying to figure out how to get it out, that's the problem you're facing. You first got to move this pigtail or this connection, and then you got to get a hammer or something soft. Don't, like I said, don't hit it hard. Just kind of tap on it a little bit with the hammer, and I'll show you how to get it in there, and it'll start working its way out as you kind of tap it a little bit. Just don't tap it hard. Just tap it just a bit, and it'll start working itself out. Hold on, I'm going to pause it. Get the hammer, show you how to work that in there. All right, we're back. So, in the back of the car, as you can see here, right? So now, I'm going to take my right arm, like I did before. The engine's in front of me, and I'm laying with my feet outside on the passenger side. And I'm facing inside underneath the car. I'm underneath the transfer case right now. This is the transfer case right here. So you take your right arm with the hammer. It'll fit right up in here. See how it's fitting in there? You got just enough room to get right over that hole. I'm not showing it. Where is it at? Okay, now right over where that hole is. And you may see the hammer going up and down there. But what will happen is that little connection right there will be sticking up over the top of this, to the top of this hole, and then you'll tap it with the hammer. Don't tap it hard, just kind of, see what I'm doing right now? I'm not hitting it hard. I'm just kind of tapping a little bit, and it'll start working its way out. That's if you took all the screws out, obviously, right? But what it'll do is it doesn't come easy. It'll start working its way out, and then you got to kind of slowly take like a screwdriver or one of those metal, let me see if I can, yeah, one of these things. Oh crap, one of these things here, and work it out. And what you do is, you go along the sides, right? And this side will come out first. You start working that, and it'll get a little stuck. And then you work it on the sides a little bit more until it comes out. Keep tapping with the hammer if it just doesn't go. But that's how you do it. Now the other secret is these. All the screws that are in here are 10 millimeter. Sorry, one of them on mine, it's the 2000 Excursion, is a 10 millimeter screw or bolt, sorry. And then the rest are screws. And they are these sort of star bolt screws. I think they're size 9, but I do have the drill bit here. Where's my drill? And I can't see the size here. That's the reason why I don't know it. Let me pull the drill out. Another bit. All right. Let's see if we can get that in there. focus. Oh, well, okay. I thought it was size 9. Looks to be 5/30 seconds. Weird. Okay. I watched a video where a guy said it was size 9 bolt, and this is the pattern right here. Okay. So you can get that size. I forget what these are called. So all you mechanics out there, correct me, but this is the size for all the screws. So a gazillion of them in there. Well, a lot of them. And then there's one, sorry. There's a bunch of them in there, and then there's one 10 millimeter bolt that you got to put on. At least it was for this particular Excursion. So you see all the connections there, and then that one stud there that you got to use that 10 millimeter. All right, the other thing is, if you're doing the Excursion, this is an XLT with a V10 in it. I made a mistake of buying a solenoid that was non PWM.
That means it came without pulse width modulation. The wrong one I bought. The right one comes with pulse width modulation.
In any case, on the all the Excursions, or sorry, all of the Fords with this particular transmission from 1999, I did some research, and all of them come supposedly with the PWM.
So again, that means it came with pulse width modulation.
In any case, make sure you get that, because makes the shifting smoother, from what I understand. Proof will be in the pudding once I get in the car. I mean, the one I took out, but it's got an orange bottom. I got this one as a remanufactured one. A little weird that they got all the electronics in here like this, but I guess that's the way it is. But anyway, gonna put it back in there, bolt it up. I think there are plenty of other videos that tell you how to take it out, but some of them leave out some detail, and this will hopefully fill in the gaps for all you folks who own Excursions. And you know, we all love our X's, right? But some of these parts and processes are becoming scarce. So anyway, if this helps anybody, I hope so. If not, yell at me. But I've seen a couple of guys done videos, but they left some holes in how to actually get it out, and everybody's complaining about how to get these things out. So hopefully this will help you out. All right.